Okay, round five. This is about the filter bubbles that people live in to learn about how to be in a relationship, how dating and love is supposed to work, and how broken it is. Because, of course, the media is always promoting whatever gets engagement. And the thing that gets engagement is outrage and divisiveness. So, what's being thrown at you is consistently the bad ideas that make you angry to tear people apart. And I'm just going to mention the facts, and I don't expect you to like them because you've spent a lot of time building your identity around that outrage mechanic. So this is going to be upsetting for you. Go ahead, feel it. So this is going to sound like a tangent at first, but it's actually really core to a lot of the principles about how things are going to go in the future. I have a long track record of accurately predicting where we end up 10 and 15 years in advance. It's back in 1998 when I was looking at what's called a capital saturation curve, which is the rate at which you build more factories and power lines. And I took the capital saturation curves from Taiwan and Japan and Korea and applied it to China back in 1998. This was 3 years before they were inducted into the World Trade Organization. They were just a tiny fragment of the world's economy. And I said, based on capital saturation curves, we have 15 years before China's going to be roughly as big as us. And that's when their growth rate will slow. And to keep their 52 different ethnicities united under one dictatorial government, they're going to have to militarize. And if you look at a map, the place they really want to grab is the Strait of Malacca and the Strait of Hormuz. So their best targets are Pakistan and Indonesia. And lo and behold, 15 years later, China's economy was 80% the size of ours after you adjust for purchasing power. You could buy the same thing over there for cheaper. So when you multiply the difference, their economy was almost as big as ours. That's when their growth rate started to slow. And that's when their president said, what was it? Corrupt generals don't win wars. Which means it's fine for a general to be corrupt when you're in peacetime, but when you're in a war, you got to get rid of the corruption in the military. And that's when he went on a crackdown against corruption in the military, which is a pretty clear signal he planned to go to war. So all those things happened together. And then they declared the Belt and Road Initiative, where they funneled money primarily to Russia, but also the other major recipients were Indonesia and Pakistan. So I've been right about a lot of stuff. You can read my essays where I was predicting the supply chain crunch that would result from COVID when COVID first happened. Before lockdown even began, I was already telling you there's going to be a whole series of economic consequences. I was right about every one of them. So I have a long track record of telling you how it's going to be well in advance. And the particular thing about that is I say what no one else is saying at the time. And I'm right. So here's one of those again. It's not what anyone else is saying, and chances are I'm right. So in the last few years, the technology for scanning your brain and decoding the signals in your brain to see what's going on inside has improved rapidly. And it's already being deployed in a few countries for key law enforcement tasks, brain scans. Now, they've already been able to use an EEG, an electroencephalogram, to just touch with wires to the surface of your skin and be able to see the general activity in your skull. So they've been able to see with an EEG scan for over a decade whether or not your empathy region, the mirror neurons in your empathy region, are active. So they've been already able to tell if someone is a psychopath, if they are incapable of affective empathy. They can do cognitive empathy, where they can recognize what someone else's emotion is, but feeling another person's feeling in your own chest is something that a psychopath can never do. They just can't. That part of their brain is broken. And when they did genetic analysis, they found that the reason that part of their brain is broken is it's broken from birth, from your fetal development. It's a result of one of dozens of different gene variants, gene alleles, it's heritable, it's permanent. So if you meet someone who displays psychopathic traits, they will always never care about anyone except themselves. And we've been able to tell for a decade who they are. And the people with psychopathic traits are not automatically criminal, but the psychopath population on average is about 100 times more violent than everyone else. And that includes SA and all other forms of psychological and emotional abuse. So if you are with someone who displays narcissism, Machiavellianism, which is a willingness to lie to get what you want, and a lack of empathy, you are dealing with a psychopath. And they will always be a psychopath, no matter how nice you are. And if you have children with them, chances are your kids are going to be psychopaths too. So it doesn't matter how attractive they are. It doesn't matter how much they give you that you like. It is your fault if you choose to have children with a psychopath. We've known the data for over a decade. And brain scans, the high-resolution NMRI scans that can use AI to figure out your internal monologue, they can write down the words you're thinking to yourself. They can discern whether you're lying or whether you're remembering. They can even, if you're watching a video or imagining something in your brain, imagine a picture or a series of events in your brain, they can reconstruct it. 3 years ago, there were people who were shown videos of a parrotfish swimming in tropical waters. And just from the brain scan, they were able to regenerate a parrotfish swimming in tropical waters. So brain scans are just going to keep getting better. There's no way we're going to work backwards. The genie's already out of the bottle. Meta, and Facebook, Zuckerberg, they're already using brain scans to try and figure out which ads are going to work best on you. So brain scans are just going to keep going. We're already in it. It's on that trajectory. There's no going back. And what's going to happen that is critical, this is the point of the talk today. People who know that they make virtuous choices are going to volunteer to get our brain scanned. We want to be able to unfurl that certificate that proves that we are good people. So none of you can make any claim otherwise. And people who get their brain scanned are going to have an easier time getting elected. People who get their brain scanned are going to be winning court cases. Because the perpetrator doesn't want their brain scanned. The victim's going to gladly get their brain scanned to verify their testimony. And people who get their brain scanned are the only ones who will be trusted to monitor the AI. The human in the loop who makes sure the AI doesn't go crazy, it's going to be people who volunteer to get their brain scanned. And people who volunteer to get their brain scanned to prove that they're good, they're actually a good person, are only going to date within their group. So let me outline the key characteristics that are applicable across religious and spiritual traditions. They're applicable across all domains of law. These are the core concepts that you're going to have to meet to qualify as passing a brain scan. I'm just letting you know. If you disagree, then you won't pass. That's all that happens. You can't be selfish. You can't be hurtful. You can't be deceptive. And you can't be submissive to evil. Definitely flat out. When you do something wrong, you need to admit what you did that's wrong. You need to empathize, which means feeling in your heart what the victim is going through. And that empathy has to be enough to motivate you by itself for you to clean up the mess you made. And if that's not how you already lived, you are screwed.